I saw the unexpected on my wife's computer. This is an example of what you should do when you face affair within the marriage. The story is lengthy, so the second part will come out a few hours from this video. Let's get started. So, 2 nights ago, I got up in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep. I found my wife left her computer logged on, and I've been suspicious she is cheating. So I looked, and sure enough, there were emails between her and another man for about 6 months now. We live in the West Coast. He lives in the East Coast. I quickly forwarded the emails to myself, and then woke her up, confronted her, and made her leave the house. We have 2 small children and have been married almost 11 years. I had feelings something was up for a while, because her behavior changed and there was no intimacy anymore. But I chalked it up to having to deal with the kids. I work from home and she works full-time, and so I'm the one who handles everything with the kids. She is the primary breadwinner. After kicking her out, I made her come back and stay home with the kids that day and took off. I did some research and found out the guy is married, 10 years older, and has 3 kids. I got his contact info and his wife's. I tried contacting the other man, but got no response at first. I contacted his wife to let her know what was going on. I never heard back from her either, but my wife, very angrily, informed me that his wife got my message. She asked me what I wanted and I told her I don't know. She says she has fallen out of love with me, and that they've only met a few times on business trips and flirted. But the last time, they kissed. I also found out that she has another business trip planned, and their emails indicated they were planning on taking it to the next level. The other man actually responded back to me and said that nothing happened and that they had been talking constantly and texting, emailing constantly, and that they felt like it was love, but that he's been trying to be objective and has been telling her to go back to me. What a great guy. My wife is saying she loves me, but is not in love anymore. She feels that I have every right to have custody of the kids if we divorce, and is worried she will not be able to see the kids. She says she wants to be in love with me, but that she's not anymore, and that she feels like I'm more like a brother to her than a lover. She said she thinks the best thing for her would be to stay with me, but she feels like the only reason she would be doing it is for the kids. I told her that we're so fractured now, the kids are going to pick up on it if things are the same as they've been. I asked her if she was in love with this other man, and she admitted she was, but claims that even if he were not in the picture, she's been thinking about separation for a while because things have been so awkward. She canceled the business trip today because she said she knew I would not trust her. I have gone back and forth on this, and understand now that I contributed to us drifting apart emotionally and even physically. But nothing deserving of this affair. Do I walk away? Do I even try to stay married? In both cases, what do you think I should do? Luckily for me, my best man just happened to move back to the West Coast a few months ago. So he's been someone to lean on. I also am friends with one of her girlfriends, who is in a unique, or maybe not so unique, position of having had the same situation occur about 2 years ago. She has not talked to my wife since this occurred, said she's too mad to talk to her, and has been giving me advice as well. I'm not religious. The topic of counseling came up, but my wife's parents stopped being a couple when she was born and went to counseling and stayed together for more than 10 years after, all the while hating each other. She said she doesn't think counseling will work and is afraid if we stay for the kids, we will end up like her parents. She said her childhood around them was miserable and the day they separated for good was a relief. Should I press counseling as a requirement? By the way, her friend and her cheating husband separated and co-parented for 6 months and started hanging out again, and now they have been back together for almost a year. But I think they are an anomaly. Comments. If she demonstrates that she's remorseful and willing to do what you feel you need her to do to try to heal, and you still have things that you think will help, then you could keep trying. It might be days, it might be weeks, it might be months. That's up to the 2 of you. It can take years to recover fully, and your marriage might not ever be what it was originally, though. Counseling. Your in-laws' counselor didn't cause those problems. They made decisions along the way that caused those problems. It could be that they got a bad counselor, and they didn't choose to fire her. It could be that they decided on their own that they would stick together at all costs. But you and your wife are your own people, and you can decide for yourself what will work for you. I do agree that staying together just for the kids is a bad idea. I'd say your first step should be to make sure you understand the truth about what happened. You may not need details. That's up to you. But how long, how involved, etc. You can't agree to forgive if you don't know what you're forgiving. Second step is making sure she accepts that what she did was entirely her decision. and that she's remorseful about making those decisions. It wasn't an accident or mistake. It was a deliberate sequence of decisions and actions that she took, all on her own volition. Until she owns that, there can't be any healing. She should be willing to explain herself to anyone that needs to know. That may include her and your parents. Kind of like the AA approach of apologizing to those that were affected. You'd also need to figure out what went wrong in your marriage. An analogy I've used is that an affair can be like a heart attack. Yes, you need to fix the immediate life-threatening crisis, the fallout of the affair. But if you want the patient, marriage, to have a healthy recovery, you need to address the things that lead to the heart attack, like bad diet, weight, etc. In a marriage, that may mean spending time dating each other again, working on connecting with each other and communicating, etc. While none of those things are acceptable reasons for her to have had an affair, her decision was likely not made in a vacuum. But she always had the option to end the marriage before seeking someone else. And she didn't do that. I should say that I'm the one in my marriage who had an affair. As far as I know, I've never been cheated on. Just saying that to let you know where I'm coming from. Good luck. I really hope, for the sake of your family, that you two can recover from this and rebuild your marriage to point zero. But I would understand completely if you can't. And to be honest, to truly fix the marriage, you, as the betrayed spouse, need to be willing to say nope, this isn't enough, and stand your ground for what you need to heal. If you roll over and let this get swept under the rug, things won't get fixed and she's likely to reoffend. But based on your first post, I don't see that as likely. But whatever, you should make an appointment to talk to a lawyer ASAP and understand your rights, responsibilities, and options. What your next steps could be, going down either path: reconciliation, divorce, separation. Protecting yourself and your children has to be a priority. One plan I've heard suggested is finding out the top divorce lawyers in town and have meetings with each of them, top likely determined by your budget. Once they've heard your story, they can no longer take her as a client. Not sure if this is true, but sounds reasonable. You don't say where you're from. You will want to find out soon if infidelity has any impact in your jurisdiction. Getting a signed confession from her now, while she's feeling guilty, may aid you later if things fall apart. But in many areas, infidelity isn't a consideration. And since they apparently never actually had sex, I'm not sure it would be a factor anyway. That's where talking to a local lawyer is critical ASAP. OP responds. In terms of infidelity, to me it doesn't matter much if it was just kissing or fondling or sex. She has been deceptive, and I don't believe any of the things she said. All of them are betrayals of our marriage, and none are acceptable. I realize I need to not focus on her and the other man anymore. When I contacted the other man's wife, my wife was livid, as if my part was the hurtful part. Since then, she has focused only on consoling the other man. She is not taking a single step toward repairing our marriage. Last night and this morning, she did not even acknowledge me when she walked in and quickly out of the room. I think regardless of what I want, I need to protect myself. At this point, I'm the one that is going to be doing things behind her back. I'm contacting an attorney today to see what I need to do. I've already contacted the other man's family. However, I think the best course for me is to hold off on telling anyone else until the divorce papers are served and then letting her family know. She still has a bad relationship with her mom, so we'll not be talking to her about it anytime soon. I actually talk to her mom more than she does. I think at that time, I should start letting our mutual friends know as well. She hasn't talked to anyone but the other man about it as far as I know. She's got too much pride to say anything to them. This way, I can unleash all of these things at the same time and really send the message home that what she did was wrong, and to let her deal with all of it at once. I've gotten no respect from her. She is the one who did this, and I shouldn't be the one fighting to keep our marriage together. But I've come to the realization that that is exactly what I'm doing. You guys are right. If she doesn't show she's fully invested in fixing things, there's no point in pushing her to. There are only two outcomes that will not leave me a broken person at this point. A reconciliation in which she shows she does want to fix things 100%. Or a divorce in which I am able to protect myself and my kids. Or a combination of those two. Update. I did believe they had sex because a few months ago she bought all this new sexy underwear and made a big deal of it. But when I did laundry, I never saw it. I realized each business trip, the underwear would be in the hamper. Instead of accusing her of this, I told her I needed her to be brutally honest because I knew everything. And I mean everything. You guys were all correct. She quickly confessed. Yesterday, I was out with the kids and being active to get it off my mind. It really did seem far removed as I was enjoying my day, but I suddenly had a panic attack. I actually thought it might be a stroke or heart attack. It lasted almost 3 hours. Super rapid heartbeat, wheezing, and numb arms. My friend assured me it was a panic attack and to just sit, but it really lasted 3 hours. That's when I decided to confront her about the truth. When she got home, I told her about the panic attack and said I couldn't be a good parent if I was dealing with panic attacks, so I told her she had to move out. I said I would stay with friends this weekend, and by Monday she had to be out. She asked if she could have more time. I stood my ground and said no, don't come home Monday. She told me the OM's wife got my message at the breakfast table with her 3 kids and just started screaming. So even his kids know about it. I did want to spare his kids, but felt the wife deserved to know. I told her for the time being, she could see the kids on the weekend only unless she made a request, and I said yes. I told her that I reread the emails, and told her to do the same, and she would notice her emails would be along the lines of "I miss you. Can't wait to see you." The OM's emails replies would be sexual, innuendo. I said, he's out for sex only and fooled you. I also showed her a picture of her 2 days after our first child was born and said that I kept that picture out because I thought it was one of the most beautiful pictures of her. She is full of hormones in the picture and her face is swollen. She has said repeatedly that she hates the picture and wishes I would put it away. I told her, would you think to show this to him? Do you think he'd love if you looked like this all the time? I told her that is real love and that is what she has ruined. Then I walked out. Something new every day. So I talked to my older kid, age 6, who called me today and wanted to talk to me. She is usually very chatty and exciting. Today she was very quiet and reserved and took long pauses between speaking. My heart was broken. I was having lunch with a friend who is putting me up for the night. Here's to good friends, and in the middle of lunch, I checked my email. Guess what? Some of my emails had gone missing. They were not in my trash folder either. I sent my wife a text asking if she had deleted any of my emails. Her reply, when? My reply, anytime? She said, yes, I deleted the emails you forwarded to yourself. So, my friend says that if it's a Yahoo account, they will restore emails deleted within 7 days. So, I requested my emails be restored and changed all my passwords. Tomorrow, I go home after a weekend spent with supportive friends. I can't eat any more steak. I'm going to let her know it didn't even work, and that if she intends to be a good co-parent, she needs to stop all this deception. It's obvious to me that she is still doing what she has been for months, trying to hide her tracks, even the ones that have already been discovered. By the way, someone asked earlier how many trips they've both been on. Since this started, she's been on a ton of trips, but I can only confirm he's been on 3 of them, although it's possible it was up to 5. Also, to clear up my first post regarding custody, she didn't actually say she relinquishes custody, but said that she felt the kids and I should stay in the house no matter what. She said her staying in the house is up to me. She said she would like to be able to stay on the weekends. I know this is going to sound like me conceding, but I do want her to be in their lives. I am still only letting her stay on weekends, but I don't want my kids to feel like something is missing. I would be open to her helping on a daily basis, but not anytime soon. One of the main reasons I am mad about this is because it woke me up to how little she has paid attention to the kids as well all these months. She comes home and goes to the bedroom to try on outfits for hours, hides behind the computer and her cell phone instead of interacting with them. That was time thinking about looking good for the other man, and emailing, texting, calling him. It made me aware that the other man had become more important than the kids too. It wasn't just me she left behind. She ignored the kids for months. I look back and think of how many times I sat on the floor in front of her playing with the kids while she was sitting on the couch emailing this guy on her computer or texting him on her phone. I told her she had neglected the kids to all these months when we last spoke last Friday as well. And when I said it, she began crying and said she didn't realize she had done that. But now that I brought it to her attention, she agreed. By the way, I just want to reiterate all of those who have taken time out to respond and give advice to a total stranger. You've all brought me a lot of comfort knowing that others have been here and can relate at a time I feel very alone. Honestly, we haven't had sex in such a long time. I don't think the tests are necessary yet. It's almost been a year and her job only started in February. True, she could have been cheating before, but she was still interested back in February when she last tried to have sex with me. In actuality, it's been almost a year that we've actually had sex. I realize now that when I say I contributed to the marriage failing, but bear no responsibility for the affair, The part I played is that I have hang-ups about sex. Childbirth was very difficult on my wife, and she wanted me to be there to watch the whole thing. After, I know I withdrew from her, and it never got back to how it was before. If it was bad, we stopped for a while then tried again. Anytime it was bad, we stopped again for a while. After she had surgery in December, I kept thinking she needed lots of time to recover. But now I know it was an excuse because of the fear I had of her childbirthing experience. It terrified me that I would hurt her. The first time after childbirth was very painful for her, and it was about 6 months after the baby. At this point, all the deception she is piling on makes me think this is over. There hasn't been one attempt to comfort me or make me think she wants to be with me. If at some point we reconcile, yes, I will require it be done. Also, I'm now concerned about one other issue. The other man wife did not reply to my message, but she friend requested me on Facebook. I am suspicious of this because she didn't write anything back. I'm afraid it's the other man with access to her account. Additionally, I'm concerned about contacting the other man wife again because I don't want to fan the flames. I'm concerned about the possibility of a civil suit against my wife which would affect the finances of my kids and myself. My wife could get fired too because these geniuses use their work email. And I remember another employee at her work getting fired a while back for this very reason. Yes, losing her job would make things come crashing down on her, but it would also affect my kids' finances. Also, a previous poster responded regarding my wife losing respect for me because I was not working. I completely agree that contributed greatly to her loss of respect. I do work, but I work from home. My job requires I sometimes go at the drop of a hat, so if I have the kids, I have to give that paycheck to someone else instead of taking the job. I do still make money and could make enough to support the household if I did it full time. But we agreed when we had kids, one of us would stay home until they were in school. My youngest starts preschool next month, so that was when I was supposed to go back full time. I allowed her to work instead of me because she is very ambitious and landed a job at a really good company. It was really important to her to have a career she was proud of, so I supported it. Even though I wanted to work too, she started getting promoted a few years ago, so I pushed back going to work. We bought a bigger house to accommodate a growing family, but that meant no more childcare to save money. I would love to continue the plan for me to go back to work full-time, but because it now seems like an impending divorce, I have been applying for jobs this week that pay about half of what I could make and that I'm overqualified for because if it's me with the kids all weekdays, I'm going to have to get a job that will require a more defined work schedule. 9 to 5, so I can have childcare in place and still pay expenses. But I have to consider what is best for the kids, even if that means a career that is different from the one I want. Comments. I really don't think that I could write anything that isn't any different from what the others have, but I'll try. All I can say after reading this is that the safest play you have is to see an attorney. As in right now, let's get one part of the puzzle dealt with first. She did have sex with the other man. What she is attempting to do is trickle truth you with the we kissed, but didn't touch bit in order to keep you off the scent. A few months later, it will be well, I gave him oral but I stopped before he came. Then later it will be okay, we had sex, but I didn't like it. See a pattern. No to adults in a secluded hotel away from their spouses, just make out and stop, especially when the fire was previously stoked with texts, phone calls, illicit pics, and the like. And the I love you but not in love with you, and you are more like a brother to me than a lover lines. Seriously, the affair fog she's in has her believing that you are nothing more than a plan B. A backup plan, the third string QB that can be easily replaced. Otherwise, she would not have went ballistic when you told his wife. She would be making every effort to reconcile your marriage, and not worrying over his well-being. Read between the lines, my man. You will always be wary of every phone call, email, and text she gets if you decide to stay with her for the kids like I tried to. That is no way to live life. Get a lawyer and deep six this cancer, before it spreads. Never mind. Seems like you have been proactive regarding the situation. Good deal. Just make sure that you don't give her any ground regarding custody. Once she gets some legal advice, she'll do a 180 and want custody. Take it from many of us who deal with this every day. It sounds like your WW is too far gone at this point, and it's certainly good for you to find your strength and do what is right for you and your children. It is difficult and amazing to me to hear how parents can get so caught up in their BS fog that they literally push their own, often very young, children into the background noise of their lives. Your WW needs to be tremendously ashamed of her, but she also very seriously needs to feel unrelenting shame for the way she has treated your children. And she continues to do it. I would bet that her deletion of the forwarded emails means that she and her other man are terrified that you will take all of this to their company HR or higher-ups. He is busy not just trying to keep his own BW from throwing him out, but to stop you from exposing them at work. Your WW now has her mind taken up both by her and her fears about her job. Kids? What kids? Can't worry about those pests while important things are happening. OP responds. The reason I've let her stay weekends is that the attorney I spoke to said I should create a pattern of behavior to establish what is the norm for the kids. If she stays at home with the kids on the weekends, it establishes that she gets them weekends. I need a break from them too. I would make her take them out of the house to stay with her somewhere else. But they don't know the situation yet, and I don't want to displace them while she is staying in a seedy hotel. We did have a conversation at length this past weekend. I told her all the signs this guy was just manipulating her. I predicted he would bail now that his wife and kids know and make some excuse to her. I told her over and over that this guy was lying to her and that he would make up a lie about one of his kids to call it off, so he would have an easier exit. I must have a crystal ball because he did exactly as I said. Yup, he lied about one of his kids again, just as he did to make her sympathetic to him at the beginning. She's now starting to realize he was just screwing with her and has asked to sit down and talk sometime this week to sort through the mess she's made. I don't know if she wants to reconcile, but it appears so. I'm still not sure what I want, but it looks like a long road ahead either way. To address an earlier poster, when I told her I already had the email restored, she didn't really reply. She did say that she didn't want the OMW to have them because she had threatened to get them both fired. I am trying to take the advice here, because so far it had been gold. And the advice of my attorney. It's a battle because I know she should not be back in the house ever until she works on reconciliation. But I also feel it's best for my kids to get into a somewhat normal pattern. My attorney said whatever patterns I establish now will likely stick. Plus, the kids are showing signs of stress. I'm a father first and foremost, even if that means having to be around her or having to give up some of my rights. It's funny, at the beginning she said she felt like she wanted to stay with me, but only because of the kids. I was thinking, if it were me, I would have stayed for that reason. I would have suffered anything for them. Anyway, we will talk today, and even if reconciliation is in the cards, we still need to separate for a while. You guys are right. I have been working this past week to get to this point, just trying to open her eyes. Now that she seems to understand what this guy really is, I feel like I've had a small victory. Yet at the same time, I don't want to be a consolation prize. I don't even know if she is saying she wants to reconcile. I'll find out tonight. But it's true. Doesn't appear she came to this conclusion on her own. I am going to focus on my kids and myself. I have come to realize that although I'm not physically unattractive, I do need to get myself together to be more attractive to someone. Whether it's my wife or someone else. So my focus is going to be finding a steadier job and getting help with the kids from my parents. They live overseas. Maybe join a gym and see my friends more frequently. Whatever happens with her, I don't feel I have much control over, so I'm not going to focus my attention there until I have more info. I guess what I meant is that even if I started having feelings for someone else, I never would have acted on it because of the kids. I think if you start to fall out of love with your spouse, it is your job to work on that. For better or for worse, right? Yes, at a certain point you can't do anything if the other person is resistant to the idea of making a marriage work. But that's on the other person. I took the vows so seriously that when others I knew cheated, it made me mad that I went to their weddings. I felt I was due an apology from them for having gone to their wedding, supported them with my friendship. And my wife knew this, yet it didn't stop her. I would like her to want to reconcile, but to be honest, I haven't decided what I want. I just know she needs to try to make amends for what she's done. At least that way I can co-parent without hatred. We've had a few scheduled talks this week. Tonight's ended at around 5 a.m. She is now convinced that this guy is a serial cheater. She told me about how someone at work told her that a few other people are rumored to have had affairs with this guy at work. Now, the rumors are circulating about her too. She claims her last communication was with him last Monday when he said he needed time to be with his kids. Then she said he had no response about the lies. So she told him not to contact her anymore. I was suspicious she was lying, and so I asked her for her password so I could check her phone for texts, emails, calls. I told her I want all the passwords, because I didn't believe her. She agreed. I also checked her phone records through her cell phone provider, and there's been no record of contact. So I think she's starting to be forthcoming. I told her about the underwear she wears whenever she would go see him, and later she threw them all in the trash. She's being very apologetic now and says she wants to try to work things out. She said she did think she was in love with him at one point, but realizes it was all a fantasy based on lies, and she's starting to get a clearer picture. She also said she fell out of love with me a while ago, but understands now that I've been good to her always and that now she's out of the fog of this fantasy. She's starting to realize what it means to lose me. She said she wants to see if we still have something between us. I told her I appreciate it, but this hurt will take a long time to get over. I told her she still has to leave. She agreed that she would stay away and hopes that at some point I will change my mind and allow her back. I told her at this point, I don't know if that will ever happen. She asked if we could go see a therapist together. I agreed we should for the sake of the kids. She asked me what we were now, husband and wife, trying to be friends, dating. I told her I can't help but continue being her husband because that is the role I played for almost 11 years. I told her because she broke the wedding vows, she ceased to be my wife, and so at this point, we are no longer married in my mind. She asked if I planned on dating other people. I said there's obviously no one now, but it's a possibility. She said she would not be seeing anyone and will wait in the hopes we can reconcile. I'm seeing a therapist on my own tomorrow. She said she would see one this week. My dad is coming to stay with us in 2 weeks, so he can watch the kids and I can get my stuff together. I haven't decided what I want still because it's still so fresh in my mind, and told her that I don't think I could ever really trust her or forgive her. Here's the thing. I never once considered she could do this, so it made me think she was incapable of it. I think now I look at the situation and the fact that from the beginning it was not. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I made mistake and I love you. But rather, I fell out of love with you a long time ago, and the change that has occurred since this affair was discovered made it hard for me to take a good look at it. My gut reaction was, you are crazy. You are married and we have kids, get back over here. And that is due to her saying she is going with him. So it's hard to discern now if she is wanting to try working on it because of the kids, or because she had some sort of epiphany, or if she's alone now because of this guy. And frankly, I don't trust her. So that is why the separation is still going forward. She has said she is now being brutally honest, and it finally seems consistent with the truth for once. But I told her it's not like we are trying to get back. Our marriage is over. If you want a life with me again, you figure out a way to build back trust. Today, she continued to do all the little things as a show of affection, which I haven't seen in months. Again, I appreciate it, but take it all with a grain of salt. Who knows what will happen? You guys are right. She is painting it as waking up from a night of drinking, not a plan B thing. But there's enough evidence to support either of those. In fact, it doesn't matter to me which it is. I don't even know yet if I want her back in my life. Even though it's almost been 2 weeks, it still feels too fresh to make any sort of long-term decision. My mood is still all over the place. Sad, angry, confused, frustrated, panicked, so I know I'm too manic to make a clear decision. If we part ways, I'm working on being okay with it. I'm open to all possibilities, but I'm not going to be trusting anytime soon. In fact, I'm not even going to think about the possibility of being with my wife or with someone else for a bit. I'm just going to focus on being happy or being me. My comment, will OP change his plan? Or will he stay his course on divorcing his wife? What would you have done in this situation? I think OP might prove us wrong in the second part. Second part coming tomorrow morning. Hit that bell and see you in the final ending.